3 years ago, I had a realization that scared the hell out of me. I was 50 years old and retirement was only 10 years away. And for the first time, I started asking a question I had been avoiding for years. What if we weren't ready? So I opened a retirement calculator. What it showed me completely changed the direction of my life. It gave me a goal that felt almost impossible at the time. And this month, I crossed it. But what happened after might be even more important. In today's month-end update, I'll show you exactly where the portfolio stands, what changed inside the accounts this month, and why hitting that goal forced me to completely rethink my retirement plan. My name's Darren. I'm just a regular Canadian who used to think that it was too late to start investing, but I started anyway, and I'm proving every day that it's never too late to build wealth. So let's get the big number out of the way. The portfolio finished May at $559,494. So that means that I've officially crossed that retirement goal that I set myself 3 years ago. But the number that really caught my attention wasn't that one, it was this. At the end of March of this year, the portfolio was sitting at roughly $485,000, and today it's sitting at $559,000. That's an increase of more than $74,000 in just 3 months. Now, when I first saw that number, I had the same reaction that you guys are probably having right now. How the heck did you do that? Well, let's break it down. During those same 3 months, we contributed just over $35,000. But there's an important detail here. About $16,000 of that came from my tax refund, which I talked about in a previous video. Now, the rest of it came from our regular investing contributions, which means that nearly $40,000 of it came from the portfolio itself. And that's the part that gets exciting because that's compounding starting to show up. 3 years ago, I was doing all of the heavy lifting by making my contributions. Today, the portfolio was finally starting to help, and here's the funny part. At this point, based on the retirement calculator, we could probably take our foot off the gas. We could contribute less, we could even coast for a while. But let's be realistic. Why would we stop doing that now? If you watched my previous video where I broke down what happens if I stop contributing or I continue contributing or even increase those, you already know where my head is at. Now, the goal was never just to hit that number. The goal was to build momentum. And that's exactly what we're starting to see. In fact, this morning, I was out walking the dog and I invested another $1,200 into my TFSA. 3 years ago, that would have stressed me out. And today, I couldn't wait to do it. And that's probably the biggest change that I've experienced since I started investing. When I started, every decision felt very overwhelming. Which broker do you choose? What accounts do you open? What ETFs do you buy? And what if I make a mistake? And what if the market crashes? And I think that a lot of people, they get stuck there. They're so worried about making the wrong decision that they never make one at all. What I've learned is that investing isn't about finding the perfect answer. It's about consistently giving compounding more opportunities to work. Whether you're starting out with $25, $100, or the $1,200 that I do, every contribution matters. And every contribution buys a little bit more time. So the other day at work, a colleague of mine came in to my office and he said he found my channel. And boy, was I ever surprised about that because I don't tell anybody. Now he's 50, he's got a family, and he's saying that money is a little tight right now. And as we talked, I could see exactly what he was thinking because that was me. Not which ETF should he buy and not which broker should he use. The real question that he was asking is there still enough time? And that's why I share these updates, because 3 years ago, I was asking that exact same question. And I didn't think this was possible either at that time. Now let's look at what actually happened inside of the portfolio. But before we do that and look at the accounts, a quick thank you to a handful of people that have used my Buy Me a Coffee link. It's basically my tip jar. It's never expected, but it's certainly very much appreciated to those of you who've done it. And if you'd like to support the channel, you'll find the link in the video description below. All right, let's see where the portfolio ended for the month. So last month, the portfolio finished at $525,277, and this month it finished at $559,494. During May, we contributed a total of $4,606, so that includes $2,400 to the TFSA and $2,000 to the spousal RRSP, and the remainder went into our kids' investing account and a small bit of Bitcoin that I hold. So there's nothing fancy, we're just following the same plan. So starting with the TFSA, this continues to be the engine of the portfolio and where most of the activity happens during the month. And you'll notice that I sold both my HHIS and my CNR position. Now, before anybody thinks that I've completely changed my mind about covered calls or even single stocks like CNR, that's not really what happened here. So over the last year, I've been working towards simplifying the portfolio and reducing overlap and focusing on the areas where I want the most exposure. In particular, Canada and international developed markets. So the proceeds from these sales were largely redeployed into XIC, XEF, and XEI. Less complexity and more diversification, and honestly, that becomes a theme of this journey. The longer I invest, the less interested I become in trying to be very clever. Moving over to the spousal RRSP. So we added another 2,000, as I already mentioned, and we continued building positions in XEQT, XIC, XEI, and VRE. Now this account has become an important part of our retirement strategy, not only because of the growth potential, but because of the flexibility it can provide when it comes to future tax planning and retirement income. Now you'll notice that HHIS was sold from this account as well, just like the TFSA. The focus continues to shift towards broad diversification and long-term total returns. Now, the goal isn't to create the highest yield portfolio. The goal is to build the strongest retirement portfolio possible. Finally, let's take a look at the emergency fund. So this account now sits at just over $12,200. Now, what's interesting about this account is that I haven't contributed a single dollar to it since December of 2025. Everything that you're seeing here is growth and reinvested distributions. No new money has gone into this account for 6 months. And when I built this account, I wanted to run a little experiment. I split the account between XEQT and VFV, HDIV, and HYLD. The idea wasn't to prove one strategy was better than the other. I simply wanted to see what would happen over time if I combined growth ETFs with income-focused ETFs and reinvested everything back into the account. And now we finally have about a year of data over that period because the account was started last year in June and it's grown over $1,200. Not life-changing, but certainly nothing to scoff at either, especially when you consider that no money has been added since December. Now, if you look at the account today, XEQT and VFV are clearly leading when it comes to the overall growth. HDIV and HYLD have been paying distributions, and every one of those distributions has been reinvested right back into the account. Even those reinvested distributions, there still appears to be a bit of gap between the growth funds and the income funds. But I also want to be fair here. HDIV hasn't been in the account as long as some of the other positions. And the covered call portion of this portfolio has changed over time as I've adjusted the strategy. So I'm not drawing any conclusions yet. This isn't about proving that one's right or the other's wrong. It's simply about an observation. The experiment's still running, and honestly, that's one of the things that I enjoy most about investing. You can have opinions. You can listen to experts. But eventually, the numbers tell their own story. Now, of course, we do need to talk about the dividends in the portfolio. So across the portfolio, May generated approximately $116 in the TFSA, $203 in the spousal RRSP, and $50 in the emergency fund for a total of $369 roughly in dividends. Now, that's lower than some of the numbers that we've seen in the past, but that's exactly what I expected. Remember, during May, I sold HHIS in both the TFSA and the spousal RRSP as part of the shift towards simpler broad market investing. Less cover calls exposure means less immediate income, but it also means more focus on the total return and long-term growth. And that's really the direction that this portfolio has been moving. The goal isn't necessarily to generate the biggest monthly dividend payment. The goal is to build the strongest portfolio possible. And every one of those dividends was reinvested right back into the portfolio. Now let's talk about that goal that I set for myself. So 3 years ago, if you've been following me for a while, I set the retirement calculator up and it told me that I needed $555,000 invested if I wanted to retire comfortably and generate approximately $100,000 per year in retirement income. Before anybody asked me, the portfolio was never intended to generate that entire amount. I also have a defined benefit pension. I'll eventually be getting CPP and OAS. Now, the portfolio's job is to supplement that income source and provide some flexibility. In other words, I wasn't trying to replace my entire income. I was just trying to fill the gap. Now, 3 years ago, based on the assumptions, the calculator told me that I needed roughly $555,000. So this month, I crossed that. But instead of celebrating and moving on, I went back and I updated the plan. I increased my retirement income target from $100,000 to $110,000 per year. And I updated some of the assumptions. And for the first time, I included money that I've never shown publicly on this channel. Money that I've actually avoided talking about for a really long time. not because it wasn't important, but because of the story behind it. And that's a story for another video. But including those assets gave me a much more complete picture of our retirement finances. Even after increasing my retirement income target, the calculator says I need roughly $571,000 invested, which means that I'm still ahead of schedule. And if the assumptions are even close to correct, the portfolio could grow to roughly $1.4 million by the time I'm 60. And that's when I realized something. The goal wasn't the finish line. It was a milestone. And when I say I increase the goal, it isn't because I just need more stuff. And it isn't because I'm chasing some giant portfolio number. The truth is, the older that I get, the more I realize what money actually buys. It's options, it's flexibility, and it's freedom. And when I started this journey back in 2023, I was 50 years old and my plan was simple. Work until I'm 60. Retire? That was it. But something interesting has happened over the last 3 years. The more this portfolio grows, the more choices that it creates. Maybe I retire at 60. Maybe I retire earlier. And maybe I just work part-time. Maybe I spend more time traveling, and more importantly, maybe I spend more time with my wife and my kids. And it's not just retirement. And on top of that, one of the other big mistakes that I made looking back was that I didn't invest our kids' RRSP for 10 years. I didn't understand how it worked. And I thought, you put your money in the account, collect the government grants, and later on when your kids go to school, you just take it out. Well, it's invested now, and today our kids' RRSP sits at $113,000. But missing out on all those years of compounding taught me something important. A large portfolio doesn't just create retirement option. It creates family options too. If our kids need help with school down the road, having a larger portfolio gives us flexibility that we otherwise wouldn't have. The point is that I get to choose. And that's what financial freedom means to me. Not quitting work and not sitting on a bench. Having the ability to make decisions based on what I want to do, not what I have to do. And that's why this portfolio matters. It's not about the number, it's about the options that the numbers create. And that's also why strategy matters. It's not just about buying ETFs. It's about understanding how all the pieces fit together. The TFSA, the RRSP, the RESP, tax planning, and finally, retirement planning. This is also why I work with a financial planner. In fact, I have another planning session coming up next week because the closer that I get to retirement, the more I realize that investing is only part of the equation. The strategy behind the investment matters as much, and that's where things stand for me. Now, I've talked quite a bit in this video about contributions and compounding and what the future could look like for this portfolio. But if you missed my recent video where I break down what happens if I stop contributing, continue contributing, or even increase them, you got to check this video out right here on the screen because it'll tell you everything about that. And I'll see you over there.